everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with a first impressions reaction to Pluto. So, for those who don't know, this is a kind of fusion series. There's this mangaka, this creator named Osamu Tezuka. Tezuka is often viewed by many as kind of the grandfather of anime. Manga and anime, in a lot of ways, stemmed from him. I would say most, if not all of it, in the modern era is because of him. Because of his programming that we have what we do. Everything is kind of built off what he created. Now, I believe there was, manga and anime prior to Tezuka, but he's kind of the one who, made it big. He's the one who really popularized it. And one of his biggest series ever, in fact, probably his biggest series ever, was Astro Boy. Astro Boy was a massive hit. It got worldwide attention, and everybody knows Astro Boy to this day. Even if they've never seen it, they know of Astro Boy. It's that just renowned. And so it's wild to think about how at one point this was just this silly little sci-fi series that didn't really have much going for it, but that it became something so much bigger. But I also want to bring up another pretty notable mangaka. This one named Naoki Urasawa. Naoki Urasawa is known for a really big mystery drama series called Monster, which was turned into an anime as well. Monster, for those who don't know, because it's not as well known as something like Astro Boy, is basically about a doctor who saves the life of a kid. The kid grows up to be a serial killer. The doctor has to work with authorities and sometimes against authorities to try and stop the serial killer. Just the baseline description of it. But it's a really, really smart, really strong series that, at least for me, it's hard to watch more than once because it's just so intense and frightening and dramatic and everything that it's one of those series you do not want to watch more than once. It's like it will bring down the mood. It's not a fun show by any means. But Naoki Urasawa has a certain very realistic art style that's pretty recognizable if you've seen it before. Osamu Tezuka has a very recognizable style. If you've seen anything that has that Tezuka designed, you would know. If you've seen obviously Astro Boy, if you've seen Kimba the White Lion, if you've seen the original Dororo, all of that is Osamu Tezuka. So, why am I bringing up both of them? Well, if you didn't know, Pluto is both of them. Pluto is what happens when Naoki Urasawa took an arc from Astro Boy and decided to reinvent it. And I'm not even kidding you here. That is literally what happened. Naoki Urasawa took one of the arcs from Astro Boy, I believe it's called the Greatest Robot in the World arc, and he decided to just reimagine it as a murder mystery. And, excuse me. So there's aspects of this that are going to retain the Astro Boy feel to it, that are still going to very much be very clearly Astro Boy. But there's also aspects of this that are also going to carry in Naoki Urasawa's style and storytelling and dramaticism. It's combining both of these pretty notable styles in a new way. And I'm hoping, excuse me, sorry about that. I woke up not long ago, so still got a bit of a scratchy throat and everything. A little bit of a scratch from Youmacon as well. So I'm fine, don't worry. I'm not like sick, but yeah. Um, so yeah, everything hopefully will end up coming together in this series in a very satisfying way. I have a lot of hope, I have a lot of faith, but at the same time, I am hedging my bets and doing this as a first impression, just to be safe. Now, I believe there's 8 episodes to this right now. I don't know if there's going to be more if it's complete. I don't know how long this was actually done. Because like I said before, this was taken from an arc in Astro Boy. I don't know how long the arcs in Astro Boy are / were. So these 8 episodes could be the entirety of the arc. It could be just a one and done series. Or there could be more. And there's only 8 episodes because, Netflix. I don't know. But yeah, what I've told you here is pretty much all I know about it. Like, I don't know, like, the direct plot or anything. I don't know much of anything else besides just the core concept of where this came from and all. So, yeah, hopefully it ends up impressing. Hopefully it ends up being really good, and we will continue it down the line. So we're going to check this out. We're going to check this out, see what we got in store, and hope for the best. Let's get this going. Oh, excuse me. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. And I think I might have accidentally skipped a portion of this entire speech. Sorry about that, but you get the gist. That all being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I'm not going to waste your time here. I'm going to talk about this, but I'm not going to waste your time here for those of you who might be just watching these afterthoughts just to see, not to hear all of my rambling and thoughts, but to just know if I'm going to pick this up. This is not just going to be picked up. We're not just continuing this past the typical first impression. I'm moving this to the front of the line. Like, this is going to be replacing Ghost and Molly McGee Season 2. Once that's either goes on another break or finishes. Whichever ends up coming first. That is a... unless I can find out, or find another spot for it, which is probably unlikely, that's a guarantee. Because this was masterful. And kind of caught me off guard with how good it was. I really didn't expect it to be that emotionally powerful. That really caught me very off guard. And I mean that in the best way. And it's just like the ongoing mystery and question of things, the fact that despite everything, we never see Pluto in this. It's like, At least in this first episode, of course. It's so well constructed. Now, like I said in the reaction, I don't know a lot of Astro Boy. I watched some of it here and there, but never like was a fan and whatnot. So I don't know the arc this is based off of. I might have seen some of it if that was in the original like anime and everything, but I don't remember almost anything about that, to be fair. And obviously this is reinvented. It's a reinvention of that in the first place. So you got to take that into account as well. There's going to be a lot of things that are different than in the original source. But yeah, I never read or watched that. And with Naoki Urasawa, the only thing I actively know, to my knowledge, is Monster. Which this definitely gives vibes of it. It definitely has the vibes, not just because of where it's mainly located and everything in Europe, but because of a lot of factors. And I genuinely do wonder if that Japanese doctor in there was Kenzo Tenma from Monster. Because it's like, I believe Tenma would have been able to perform that surgery on Duncan. That would have saved his life. But I also don't know if the time frame would match up. Because I don't remember like when Monster takes place, but it's in a more modern-ish setting. So it's like the fact that this series takes place into the future, it's like it depends on how far in the future and everything. I don't know. When I watched Monster, I watched it in the dub. So I don't know if that was the voice actor of Tenma. It might have just been like a little reference there. And had the same voice actor maybe perform. That would have been cool. But yeah, maybe this isn't as far into the future as I thought as well. Like, maybe the part where Duncan was a kid and all still was before the advent of most of this robotic stuff, and maybe that was still an older Tenma, but still Tenma. And then, like, Tenma's probably dead currently, of course. More than likely, considering how old Duncan is. But yeah. It's an interesting thought, at least. But yeah, this episode really impressed me. The first and the second half feeling so disconnected until you kind of put together what's going to happen at the end of the second half. And it makes you really fucking sad because the entire second half is endearing you to these characters. That was rude. That was actively rude. I did not appreciate that, but at the same time, it was so brilliantly done that I can't hate it. It was just, like, you're gonna spend an entire half of an hour-long episode making us love these characters, making us care about these characters. And then you're just gonna kill one of them off to showcase that kind of intense, dramatic emotion that Naoki Urasawa is pretty good with, based on Monster. Yeah, that's rude. And the thing is, like at the start of this second half, when we first meet Duncan and everything, it's like, no, you're not really supposed to like him, and you don't. He's kind of a jackass. But as you start to like hear about things and you start to put things together, you kind of realize pretty quickly that shit's happened to him, and he's an old curmudgeon because he's lost faith in the world and himself. He's not a fan of this robotic stuff, which, based on his on the way he talks about it and everything, I definitely kind of have to assume the robotic shit came upon in his time, to this degree, obviously. The robotics boom happened during his lifetime. But we find out about his backstory and everything, and find out that he's been hiding truths of it from himself. Um, we see that despite the way that he treats North Number Two, North continues to try and help him because it helps North deal with the trauma he's facing from having been on the battlefield and destroying hundreds of his own kind. So, again, you get really attached. So when North Number Two dies at the end, whether or not Duncan ends up dying as well, it doesn't really matter. The fact that North Number Two dies at the end, you feel that sadness because you saw that the two had grown really close, almost a father-son bond. And so when you see him realize that North Number Two has died, and hearing his voice singing in the sky, it's just like, why do you do this to me? I didn't come into this series expecting to cry, but it made me cry. And it's like, what the hell? What the goddamn hell, Naoki Urasawa? But that's not even talking about the first half of this episode, because the first half deals with the mystery element. We meet Inspector Gesicht, I think his name is. Like I said, might take me a bit to get all the names down. But I believe it's Gesicht. Gesicht is a robot himself, which we don't find out right away. We find out a little bit into the episode. But he is a robot who is acting as an agent. He can't harm humans. He is programmed to not be able to, but he definitely has ways around that, such as with sleeping gas and stuff. He's not gonna be able to harm, injure, kill, maim, whatever. But he can put you down so that you're not a danger to anyone. You just will wake up later on. He seems very serious, but he does have definitely a more playful side to him as well. We see a little peek of with his wife and all. I do still wonder if his wife is a robot as well, because we do see this robot wife to Robbie, this robotic cop who was killed, and we see that she is very human in her emotions and whatnot, and it's actually like she's actually really super cute, and I feel really bad for her because it's very clear that she is upset about her husband's death. And I said it multiple times in the reaction, but I really like this concept when any piece of media does it. Taking like actual robots or whatnot and making them very human is just a concept I really love. I compared it to Detroit Become Human. For those who don't know, that's a video game that centers around androids, human-like robots. And the game focuses on the androids fighting for their rights and fighting for the opportunity to be seen as not just robots, not just machines, but as their own people. It's a phenomenal game. One of my favorites of all time, easily. I love it, and I've seen so many Let's Plays of it because I love seeing people go through the different choices and whatnot in the game that actually very much do matter in that game. But yeah, so it kind of gave me some vibes of that for sure. And I like that. I really do. Gesicht, I think I think I compared him at one point to Inspector Lunge from Monster, because, Naoki Urasawa. But he's very much not like Lunge. Lunge was a lot more, I don't want to say cold, but he didn't have a lot of emotion to him a lot of the time. Like, I by no means am, like, saying he was a bad character. He wasn't. Lungay is a great character. But he was a very serious character. Gesicht seems to be a lot more, you know, average, I guess you could say. He's not overly serious. He has a more amusing side to him, for lack of a better way to put it right now. But he's not like overly silly and goofy and whatnot too. He knows when to be serious and when to not. And just so happens most of what we've seen him with has been serious. I mean, there's that part at the end, it's like, is that a snail? It's like, okay, dude. I kind of wonder what this would sound like in the dub. I might have to check that out on my own time. And maybe if I like it actually even better, we might switch to the dub for episode 2 and beyond. Because this does take place in Europe, so it might work. I mean, for accent-wise. Because Monster, obviously, they were all speaking in English too in the dub. But they had the accents. Like, there were German accents and Swiss accents and stuff. Getting that kind of thing here, too, would be really cool and would add to the immersion. But I might still prefer the Japanese voices better. I don't know. I would have to check that out. But yeah. So we see him just kind of investigating throughout the first half. We first find out about this robot that was killed. And we find out that it was a druggie just, you know, defending against, you know, being caught with drugs. But we also find out at the same time there was another murder. A human was killed. And I actually made a mistake in the reaction. I said that this human was the first victim, but no, Mont Blanc was the first. And I'll get to Mont Blanc. But this human was killed. This speaker or whatever, I forgot exactly what it was. But he was killed in his house. There was no signs of ransacking, but it was everything was still destroyed. And it was, from what we were told, there was absolutely zero signs of human traces left. Yet, in Robbie's memory banks, his wife mentioned that whatever was fleeing from the place, from the apartment or whatever, was not a robot. So if it's not leaving human traces and it's not being able to be registered as a robot, what is it? Could we have a cyborg? Could it be just some advanced form of robot that couldn't be registered? I don't know. That's something that's part of the mystery of this series. But like I said, there was a victim prior to this person, and that was Mont Blanc. This is kind of our big how we get into the show. I know I'm kind of going in reverse order for how this episode went, but Mont Blanc is kind of our introduction to everything. Mont Blanc was this big peacekeeper robot who everybody loved. He was super popular, super helpful, would play around with the children, would act as a mountain guide and stuff. Just a super lovable robot that just everybody is now mourning. Because Mont Blanc's remains were found with these mysterious horns sticking out of it. Horns that also happened to be sticking out of the human victim. So the robot, Mont Blanc, is kind of the catalyst as to how this mystery starts. Because while robots can be killed by other robots, who would want to kill Mont Blanc? Mont Blanc had no enemies. Everybody loved Mont Blanc. Then you have this speaker, this human, who could have had a lot of enemies because of his sharp tongue, the way he spoke, the things he said. So it's like these two don't even really seem connected, yet both were killed by seemingly the same attacker. We see Gesicht at one point goes to a robot that had committed a human murder, a robot on human murder 8 years back. And it's very much a Hannibal Lecter moment from Silence of the Lambs. Um, he visits him and he's like, restrained and everything. But the robot, it's very much that kind of thing. Like when Jodie Foster, I think, visits Hannibal Lecter in the cell in Silence of the Lambs to try and get info on why the killer would be doing this. It's very much the same kind of thing, and I love that. So, yeah, he's trying to get some info from this robot on why a robot would kill a human, on how a robot would kill a human. So the dude tells Gesicht, it's like, they studied me. They researched everything after they caught me, and they could not find a defect in my program that would cause me to be able to attack or kill a human. And what this means is that if there was no defect, the choice to kill a human was a choice. With these robots clearly having emotion and consciousness and the ability to make decisions and come to all of that on their own, like, this kind of stuff could happen. And so this robot clearly killed the victim 8 years ago on its own volition, completely ignoring the need for, by checking it with the robotics code and everything, and its programming. They talk about what could be doing this and how this could be going on. And the robot mentions about the mythology, about the horns that are mysteriously coming out of the victims. And mentions that it could be connected to the mythology of the king of the underworld, who goes by different names depending on the mythology, such as Hades in Greek mythology and Pluto in Roman mythology. So that's where we get our title drop. And that's why I'm referring to this killer as Pluto for the time being. So we're kind of getting this vibe that whether robot or cyborg or whatever is doing this, they are exceptionally dangerous. They are actively bad. And that they are doing this not because of a defect, but just like the robot in the cell. They're doing this because they want to. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from it. And I don't know if that's true yet. We don't know, because that's part of the mystery. But I'm very, very interested in finding out. The animation in this was super gorgeous. It was so great. There were some standout moments for sure, like the scene with Duncan playing the piano, and the way the hands were animated was so good. The soundtrack was beautiful. The voice acting fantastic. It's like, it was just really fucking good. Like, top of the line really fucking good. Now, this is only one episode out of 8. But if all 8 episodes of this are this good, this is going to be high up there for me. I'm very invested now. I'm very invested to see what goes on next, what happens, what all of these robotic dreams are about. There's a lot that is very exciting about this for me. And like I said, we are pushing this straight to the front of the line in terms of first impressions reactions. There's a lot of other stuff I want to get to, of course, but I really want to get to more of this. I could watch it on my own time, but I want to react to it. So, like I said, unless I can find another Sofford at any point, it's more than likely going to be replacing the Ghost and Molly McGee Season 2. Once we finish that, or once it's just over, that's when we're going to, or when it goes on hiatus again, that's when we're going to replace it. We'll see how that all goes down. But yeah, we're moving it to the front of the line. just because I really want to get to this sooner rather than later. As soon as possible, basically. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. At the end of the episode, we do meet Adam, who, yeah, our Astro Boy of the series. Um, because this is based off of, an arc from Astro Boy, we still have to have that character brought in some way. So I assume Adam is going to help Gesicht in this investigation and everything. That's the only thing I can really think of. But I guess we'll see. If he has like kind of the same abilities as Astro Boy, it's gonna be interesting to see how he's utilized in this all. Um, but that makes it even more interesting. That makes it even more exciting. So for the time being, though, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this first episode of Pluto? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Did you have some issues with it? Let me know your thoughts. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.